thought it would be really cool if I answer the top 10 spiritual questions that I get. And I have to tell you that I get these questions a lot, so some of you will actually be curious to know the answers to them. And then there's also questions, if you guys want to write anything in the comments, I will be glad to answer them for you, and we'll talk a little bit about them, okay? So, top 10 spiritual questions. What could they be? We'll find out in a few minutes. So, as I said, we have a new moon in Cancer coming in on the 20th, which I believe is Monday. Hi, Sarah. And this new moon in Cancer is the second moon that we have in the same sign. We had the full moon coming in just recently. And this also closes the sequences in the series of the Capricorn Cancer axis of the eclipses that we had recently. So this energy is really going to shift things up a little bit. I have some notes about it. I was studying the astrology very in depth today. And this energy is really, the energy that we're in now with a lot of the things that are going on globally, you know, the patriarchal structures falling down and those things, that's going to go on for a little while longer, probably till the end of the year. But this new moon in Cancer on Monday actually does create some new energy for us. And this moon is one that really has this axis of our security, home security, and in the outside world security. But the other thing that it does is it's going to want us to create a safe space. And safe space means something different to all of us. So when this Cancer moon comes in on Monday, you're going to find you have a new approach to things maybe. This week we're getting very challenged by the sun opposing that stellium that we have had in Capricorn all year, Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn. And the sun in its position is starting to oppose those points in the sky. So that's really highlighting and illuminating a lot of the global unrest that we're seeing across the world, and illuminating a lot of the structures breaking down, and also will illuminate our restrictions. That's why you're seeing COVID numbers go up. You're seeing some of the rioting go up a little bit. Hi, Sally. And so, hi, Steve. And so as we see the sun highlighting this area of the zodiac, of the cosmos, things are going to be a little bit fever pitched at times, especially since we have Mars and Aries heating that up to begin with. So when the new moon in Cancer comes in, this is all happening in the opposite part of the zodiac of that Cancer new moon. But the moon is another luminary. So we've got a lot of heat and a lot of light on that trigger point that we've been feeling all year long. In our personal lives, this might illuminate some wounds. And we may have found this week the energy to be really dense and heavy at times. Some of us may have broken through that and feel an optimism and a lightness of being because we've been working on that energy so long. But what I can tell you is that the way to work in this energy, and really, I know a lot of us have been feeling anxiety this week because of all this heat that's building up in this denseness of the Capricorn stellium. So the way to work with that energy is really to bring more light there that you control. And what happens is when we start to feel anxiety or fear, we start to make things our authority that are not our authority. We start to look at what's going on in the world. We start to go to media for advice. We start to look online for answers. We start to listen to gurus that maybe don't resonate with us. We start to kind of get a little bit scattered as we look for answers in external sources. And we start to make those external sources our authority. And when we do that, it just amplifies the anxiety and builds up more denseness in us. Because the way that we become lighter, and the way that we alleviate anxiety, and the way that we alleviate stress, is to lighten our vibration and raise it, and feel joy and comfort and happiness. So when you feel that density coming on, and the density, and for some of us it's even been a little bit of cloudy thinking. When you feel that coming on, go within, make yourself the authority of you once again. We're taking on way too much other authority in our lives right now, and that's what's bringing us confusion and anxiety and density. So let the density go by doing something you love. I actually have been in quite a lot of transition in my life these last few months, even before we were, had all these changes to our normalcy. And what I did just yesterday was I actually sat down and I made a list of the things I always enjoyed doing. Not now, but in the past, in my life, over the whole course of my life. What are the things that I really enjoyed doing? It could be something as simple as I always loved to ride my bike as a child. or I loved cooking, or I loved walking the beach, or I loved connecting with people, or I loved being in charge of something at work. But think back over the whole course of your life and make a list of the things that you do that bring you joy, the everyday things, the really big accomplishments, everything that makes you joy, that brings you joy, makes you lighter, makes you happier. And then look at that list. And you're going to see that there are things on that list that you can bring forward into this new world order, into this new sense of normalcy that we're all striving for. But work with, bring in the things that always brought you joy and happiness and lightness. Because the energy is so heavy and so dense for all of us that I think if we can go back to remembering the things, and they're going to be different for all of us, but if we can go back to remembering the things that bring us lightness, that make us feel like us, make me feel like Georgia, make you feel like John and David and Michael, there's things that you've always done that have brought you back home to that. And that's where our comfort lies now. It doesn't lie in seeking an external or seeking a new normal or complaining about the fact that we have to cover half our face. Those things just bring us more density. Instead, find the normalcy within you that you can bring wherever you are. Find your light that will shine even behind the mask, and concentrate and focus on those things. It sounds very simple, and it is simple, but it gets very deep when you really start to think about it. I realize things about myself in doing that little list of what brings me joy. I realize things about myself that I never even thought about before, and that I realized I could bring forward into my life now by just making a small adjustment. You know, for those of you out there who are yogis or do yoga, you'll know that when we learn our poses, sometimes there's a very small adjustment to be made and the whole pose changes. Sometimes it can be something as simple as changing your wrist or a mudra in your fingers, and it changes everything about the pose. And that's the adaptability and the pivot that we need to find in our own lives now. What small adjustment can you make to bring you back to who you are? Because we are all still the same people we were back before all of this crazy, unusual, unthinkable change happened to us. And we can bring that sense of being back into what we all are living with now. Maybe things about us have changed, maybe some opinions and perspectives have changed, but the things that bring us joy and the things that help us find that core of us are the same. No one can control your mind unless you allow it. No one can control your heart unless you allow it. This is part of you that will always be you and always be your home. So we all need to go back to that. And that's how we're going to really get through this dense energy. The Cancer new moon coming in on Monday is there to help us do that. It's there to help us with these wounds that the sun opposite Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter are bringing in this week. They're awakening the wound. They're awakening our frustrations and our anger, and our depression and our anxiety is being awakened, so that we have to take it out and unpack it and look at it and have a new approach, a fresh approach. What do I need to do with this energy in order to make it palatable for me, so that this does not become what I'm defining myself by, but this becomes something I mutate and transmutate into my lightness of being and a better version of myself. That's doing the work of the warrior. And this energy is warrior energy. We've got Mars in Aries, absolutely the warrior times 10. Mars is at home in that sign. It's going to be its innate self. It's innate warrior striving for the winning, striving for the ambitious goal. In this energy, it can even be fanaticism. You're going to see a lot of people who become so rigid in their thinking that it will become fanatical and misguided. And we're going to see that. And what we have to do to combat that is not make more of it. The wound never gets healed by making more wounds. We never heal by wounding. We are only going to heal by healing ourselves, unpacking those dense emotions, feeling them. You know, I have my times when I sit on the couch and I cry. And I'm like, okay, I need to just get this out. I need to just let it flow through me. I need to feel what the core of this is and where is it coming from. That's a really brave soul. And we all have the gift to do that. Mars and Aries, we can use that for that. That warrior, we can use it to face our demons and our shadows and bring them out into the light where they have no power. And that's how we're going to heal ourselves, that's how we're going to heal the world, is by allowing the emotions to flow through us in our own personal space, not out on the streets and on posts of social media. Those are just making more wounds. So we never heal aggression with more aggression. We never heal wounds with more wounds. We have to go into the opposite energy of that. And so I implore you all this next few days, while we have this beautiful Cancer moon energy and we have the sun opposing Pluto, Saturn, and Jupiter, bringing a lot of our shadows to the surface, the moon is going to illuminate that and help us heal it. Cancer is a healing energy. Cancer is our security, our home. Cancer is a sign of the crab, who has his home, his shell on his back, so he's never without home, he's never without safety. And that is true of all of us, as that lives within each of us. So that new moon in Cancer on Monday, heavy moon energy. The moon is in Cancer, it's its home sign. Cancer is the sign of the moon. We've got a lot of luminaries illuminating very deep, dense energy. So this can be either nurturing, the Cancer energy that's mother, that's moon, that's home, that's illumination. It's a great time to put your crystals out. It can either be that energy, or it can be lunacy. Too much illumination from the moon, too much illumination of density, too much cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. It's our choice and our free will. We have the ability to create the life we want, and if you don't believe that, then you don't believe in free will and you're just a robot, and none of us believe that. So if you believe you have choices in your life and you have free will, then you must certainly believe you have the ability to create the life you want. And so that's the energy. It's a very polarized energy. We're going to have polarization till the end of this year. The way to do it is, don't be afraid to go into your underworld. Don't be afraid to confront the heavy energy you're feeling. Don't be afraid to go into those shadows, but go there tethered to divinity, tethered to illumination, tethered to the wisdom of our ancestors, and tethered to the belief that you're going there and you're feeling that density in order to bring it into light and make it powerless, to understand it, transmute it into the light and joy that you should be seeking. All right? So I'll take any questions about that. David, I'm not going to answer those questions on this broadcast for you because you're asking a lot. I can always do a reading for you after. You know, if you have anything pertaining to this subject matter, I'll answer that. And then I'm going to go to some top 10 spiritual questions that y'all have, because I get a lot of questions. So if anybody has question, comment, I would love to hear it. Okay. So one of the questions that I get a lot is, I'm reading my list, I made a list. What are we all so afraid of? I get that a lot because people will say to me, everybody's scared, everybody's afraid. They're like, oh, I'm afraid to do this, I'm afraid to do that. What are we all so afraid of? Well, we are all born with fear, and fear is, hi Angie, and fear is basically, we're all born afraid. And if you think about it, the physical process of birth is scary, right? For our souls, our beings. We're, you know, in this beautiful place that feels like home, and it's warm, and we're surrounded by water, and we're submerged, and we're surrounded by fluid, and then all of a sudden we get like pushed through something that's been like the eye of a needle, and we have these bright lights in our face. So it's frightening. So fear becomes innate with us in our being, in our bodies. We're born with fear, and that's why people are afraid. It's innate in us. Animals have fear. If you look at your dog, your puppy, your cat, animals out in nature, they have an innate fear. The reason for fear is because it's there to protect us. It's there so that we know when and sense danger. That's the fight or flight syndrome. So what happens is, throughout the course of our life, we're conditioned where that fight or flight syndrome is constantly pricked and poked. So it becomes an instinct in us to be afraid. And that's why we're all afraid. It's called free-floating fear because it doesn't really have a pinpoint, but fear is innate within us. When you become very evolutionary in your thinking and really ascended in your spirituality, you use fear to illuminate the things you need to know. When I'm fearful of something, I don't react to it anymore. And this happens quite a bit actually in this past week, because I felt a lot of really dense energy, and sometimes, like, I'll just be walking down a hallway and all of a sudden sheer terror just comes through me because I'm picking up on world energy. So anyone observing me would never know it because I don't even miss a step. But I've learned and conditioned myself to, when that happens, take it out and observe it and examine it without getting tied into it. So it's like, wow, that was a very, very intense feeling. There must be something going on in the world, or maybe I picked that up from someone around me. Or why am I feeling this? What does it need from me? Why is our Creator giving me this experience in this moment? What does He want me to do with it? And I realized that it was my higher self, Creator, whoever you want to believe in, making me stop and take a time out and giving me all of a sudden this lightning bolt of immense terror, just so I would stop and nurture myself and say, okay, everything's fine. You're picking up on some world grid. You need to stop a minute and breathe and be good to yourself here. And it was a very hectic day, and that's what was happening. So whenever you feel anxiety, that may be a little poke saying, hey, take care of Georgia. Hey, we're over here. When your body gives you discomfort, it wants your attention. It doesn't want you to ignore it, suppress it, stuff it, pretend it's not happening. When you do that, you'll get more of it. And that's why we're fearful, because we do that and get more of it. If you just confront your fear, confront your anxiety, then it will subside because you're confronting and doing something in the moment. Your mind's not wandering really far away. So, and you'll get it at certain times, Rain. I see you're saying you're getting this anxiety feeling a lot. I am a sponge to world energy. I've had to learn in my life how to temper that and not allow it to control me. So you're going to pick up the collective in this energy. It's very intense. You have a lot of people out there who are angry, dissatisfied, and fearful. And when you're a compassionate and empathetic person, you're going to feel it. So that's where the anxiety comes from. And I also think that we feel a lot of anxiety now, especially if, you can't help but take in some media because we all want to kind of know what's going on in order to keep ourselves safe. And because there's so much of it, it makes us have more fear because we feel like something's going to happen because every day something's happening. So that's that fight or flight conditioning, and we have to unravel it. And the way to unravel it is, once again, be your own authority for your feelings. Like when I walked down the hall, I knew that feeling of terror that just kind of flew through me for a moment. I knew it wasn't mine. I had nothing to be afraid of in that moment. So I knew it wasn't mine. It could have been a sense memory from a past life or something that happened to me in my childhood or whatever. But I worked through it by stopping and identifying it. One of the biggest mistakes people make in spiritual journey is they say they have to get rid of their ego. I have to let go of my ego. I have to get rid of my ego. I have to get rid of these people. I have to not be around negative. Well, that's not a very realistic view of the world. We all have an ego, and we need it to assert us in our life. We all have people who are going to be a little bit annoying. Some of them we have to work with, or they're in our families, and we can't just, wash our hands of them all. So what we have to do is not allow that to control us, right? So when we do that, then we're in control and we're our authority. So that's really a big deal. And yes, I believe there is a feeling in the collective of anticipation, of doom. That anticipation can be that doom, can be something optimistic. It's up to us. That's our free will. The more we think about fear, the more we think about anxiety, the more we say doom is coming, it's going to get worse, then we will get more of that. We will absolutely get more of that. I believe when we confront the anxiety and we confront the fear, it does relieve it right away. And you'll feel it gradually doing that. And I'll tell you why. It's a really simple analogy. One of the reasons why I did my Oracle deck, Circle of Light, is because I believe light heals all. And so when we're anxious and we're afraid, we're in the dark, we're dense, we're in the darkness. We're allowing our shadow to come forward. The things that frighten us are in the dark, right? When you turn a light on in that room, all of a sudden it's not so scary because now you know what everything is. You can identify it. It's not distorted. Anxiety is the distortion of normal things. Anxiety is the distortion of a normal fear into an irrational one. Anxiety is the distortion of an everyday situation being threatening. Turn on the lights. It's pretty hard to distort something when you're really seeing it. Like I always say, Surgeons don't do surgery in the dark. If you ever walk into an OR, it's like lit up like sunlight because you can't heal in the dark. Everything has to be given light. And when we give light to things, they suddenly become, the dark suddenly becomes less powerful when we give it light, you know. So put light there and look at it and say, what am I so afraid of? Another question that I get a lot, and I wanted to just go back because I saw Joanne's thingy dingy. Here it is. We're going through so much. I'm a mess. I was just told that I have metastatic breast cancer in my lungs and liver. Okay. So first thing I'm going to say to you is follow doctor's recommendations. Make sure that you're comfortable with that. But in addition to that, you must get in a place in your mind where you're picturing healing and you're picturing well. Now, I don't know what your diagnosis is, but I have seen people heal themselves in all kinds of situations. That being said, when your doctor gives you a diagnosis, if it is terminal or whatever, it's up to you if you believe that or not. Everyone faces those things differently. But what I can tell you is whether you're on this earth a minute, an hour, a year, or 20 more years, make every moment as comfortable and as joyful as you possibly can in any situation. Our immune system responds to that. When we are joyful and we are relaxed and calm, our immunities and our cells boost each other. When we're in stress, dis-ease, or anxiety, we are affecting our immune system. So the best thing I can tell you is, Joanne, try and be fully present in the moments of your life, however long that is, and try and use those moments to bring you joy, because we all deserve that. And although you may be facing something, and I have great compassion for it, although you may be facing something, none of us are guaranteed tomorrow. So we need to make the best of every moment. And I'm going to send you healing, Joanne, and the best advice I can give you is find things that make you relax, unfearful, de-stress is the word I'm looking for, de-stressed, and in ease, because that will help whatever your situation is, no matter what it is. Okay? Anybody have a question they wanted to ask? Okay, another question that people always ask is, what happens when you die? Like, I know this, right? I don't know. I can tell you what I see, what I feel, what I think. My personal belief, that's why I always kind of say I'm a lot of a Buddhist, because my personal belief about death is very much like Buddhism. I believe we're all here for a purpose through each lifetime. Our purposes differ in each lifetime because we are all meant to experience everything. We will all be everything throughout the course of our soul's journey. And that's why the very popular verse, I am that I am, that's what that means. I am that I am. I am what you are what I am. We've all been horrible people. We've all been amazing people. It depends on what lifetime you meet me in. I've been a murderer, a child abuser, a drug addict, rich, poor. We've been everything in our lifetimes. It just depends on what role you've been given in this lifetime. I've been murdered. I've been abused, because we must experience everything throughout our lifetimes. That's my belief. That's how the soul evolves and grows. Because of that belief, I believe the soul within us is eternal until such time as the Creator decides that we will be incarnating into a form other than human. So maybe after 100 lifetimes or whatever lifetimes, when your soul is evolved enough, you become an angelic being or a light being or another form of existence, an ascended master or something. My goal is to be an ascended master, and that's a really lofty goal, but it might take me a few hundred lifetimes. But that's what I believe. I believe that's why I can communicate with people on the other side, because their soul is still there. Their soul is still energy that just keeps transforming into other forms of life. It never completely dies. I believe that's why sometimes you feel someone as a soulmate. You'll have a great love or connection with someone, and it's otherworldly, because it is. If you've had that connection in another world. So that's my personal belief. So I believe what happens when we die is we see a lot of light, and we probably see the Creator. And at one point when we're crossed over, we sit at a table with a lot of guides and ascended masters, and we discuss with them what our next lifetime is going to be, and they give us our contracts, and we go live them out. And that's why it's so important to be in touch with your soul in each lifetime, because that connection with soul is what brings you to the next life. So do your work. Do your work so we can keep ascending in throughout lifetimes. That's what I believe. So somebody had asked, where do we go when we die? That's what I believe. I a lot of religious beliefs out there. You are all should believe what you want to believe. Somebody else wrote in, describe God. Now, I can't describe God. And the reason why I can't describe God is because one of the things that I have come to know through my work, my spiritual work, is I know when I'm having an experience that is not of this earth plane. Okay, for instance, when I'm having a spirit communication with someone who's crossed over, or I'm getting a message from Creator, or I'm in a very deep meditation and seeing something, or something even just happens to me in my daily life that is extremely synchronistic, that I can't even explain. Whenever I use the words, I can't explain it, or I can't find the words in our language to explain the experience, then I know it's not of this world. Because if it was, there would be words to describe it. So I can't describe God to you because there are no words to describe Him in our language that we know. All right? So everyone always asks me that, and that's my answer, and I will always give that answer because I know what it's like to experience other realms, and I can't explain them because there are no words in this language for us to explain them. All right? What do I believe to be the current condition of the world? Somebody asked me that the other day, and I was like, why are they asking me? If I had to use one word to describe the current condition of the world, it would be transmutation. I believe we are mutating into another form of existence, and I believe over the next few decades, that those metamorphosis and that transmutation is going to happen through the structures that are built. I believe that the structures that we're in now are being brought down because it's not just going to be a new world order, it's also going to be a new order of our own perceptions and our own approaches to things, our own awareness of things. I believe everything from our food supply and the way we create food, the way we create energy, the way that we govern and structure in our lives, I believe all of that will be completely changed within the next 30 years. And so if I had to use one word for the current condition of the world, it would be transmutation. And I think that the reason why all this is happening, there's such polarization and from violence to, I see so much happening. It's all about wisdom and the wisdom that we need in order to transmute to the next level of evolution for humanity. So Rain asked, why as a child would I be so fearful of death? For a lot of philosophers explain that fear. If you ever read the works of Jung or even Plato, we are born innately with fear, and the reason why we think we're fearing death, but we really don't know that it's death, because a lot of times, depending on how you were born, the actual physicality of your birth, you're associating the things that happened, the sense memories of that, with death. Because if you think about it, when we're born, it's very similar to the way some people have described, who've had near-death experiences or have, been brought back, where they say, this bright light and all this stuff, and they feel like they're going through a corridor or a tube. It sounds like birth if you really think about it, right? So sometimes I think that shock to the human machine, the human body, during birth, I think we interpret that as a fear of death, but it was a sense memory from being shot out of a womb or being taken out of our mother's womb in a C-section. Also, I think the amount of anxiety we have in our lifetime is very predicated on whether we were held after we were born or not. I've had anxiety issues my lifetime, up and down. There have been times when I haven't had it at all. If I'm really in my yoga practice and really in my spiritual rituals, I don't ever feel anxiety. But I know from the story of my birth that I was never held. My mom was completely asleep when I was born, and she didn't even know if I was a boy or a girl till 24 hours later. And in those days, they wouldn't like have rooming in or anything. You were just put in an incubator or nursery. So I probably for the first 24 hours of my life, maybe a nurse put me in the bassinet, but I didn't get any nurturing or anything when I was born. So I think that was always my anxiety. You know, I'm shot out into this place I don't know, and have no nurturing. I have no connection, no nourishment to thrive. So that's what I think. Hi, Gina. That's what I think sometimes anxiety, you know. So ask about when you were born, because I bet you that's it. Because I've done groups with anxiety and anxious people, and we all have very common experiences of birth. And so I know that sounds kind of funny, but I just think that might be part of it. I really do think that when, like, I don't have children, but I equate it with, like, I have a dog who's like my life, Sparky. And I know when I see Sparky fearful, like if it's the 4th of July fireworks or whatever, the first thing I do is I will hug him and nurture him and let him know and comfort him and let him know it's okay. Human contact helps people thrive. It helps animals calm. So when we're born, if we don't have that, I would think it makes an innate sensation and sense memory in you. If you had lung issues when you were born, Rain, and you had to be separated from your mom, so there you go. And I'll bet you a lot of your anxiety comes out in breath, in like you feel like you can't breathe, have suffocation, feel short of breath, all those things. I'll bet you anything that that's how your anxiety manifests. It's a sense memory, and you have to, you know, really go back to that time and tell yourself you're okay, because you're a big girl now, Rain, and Rain will take care of Rain. And that's how I wow. Yeah, she said, wow, I'm going to talk to my mom about it. Yeah. And that's how I cured a lot of my anxiety, because I always had abandonment issues because of that experience. So when I got older in my life, a really important mentor that I was working with, one of my first gurus, said to me, you have such an extraordinary life where you've always survived. And I had a lot of adversity happen for me. And so what I did was I actually regressed back to a lot of those times that were very challenging. And I promised to take care of myself the way I did then, always. Whether it was that 5-year-old child hiding in a closet or you know, being in a situation where you really had to get yourself out of some scary spots, we always take care of ourselves. And so you have to go into that and realize that although I may have had this unfortunate experience, I'm grown now and I will never let myself down. So it comes down to Rain loving Rain, Georgia loving Georgia, Michael loving Michael. And that's a big part of everything we do, is knowing that we're there for ourselves. Which leads me to the next question that somebody wrote in, which was, I get this a lot. I can't seem to get out of my own way. My life is a mess. Can you help me through a reading? And so 9 times out of 10, I'm going to shorten the learning curve for everybody, because I spent years of my life on this. So maybe I can help you guys not have to spend years of your life on it. Most of the time when we are in a situation where we're just like the hamster on the wheel and we can't seem to get out of our own way and we keep having the same results and the same results for the same type of things, usually it's 2 things. I'm trying to figure out how to explain this. It's usually, the big part of it is we don't love ourselves. And I know you'll all be out there and you'll all be like, oh, I love myself. I know who I am. Okay. Then you wouldn't be in this circle. Because we stop the circle and we start to create the life we want when we truly believe in every fiber of our being that we deserve it. And that we're going to go out and get it for ourselves. Because once again, Georgia loves Georgia. Rain loves Rain. Michael loves Michael. Gina loves Gina. And so there's something there inside you that doesn't yet believe that you truly deserve to be out of the loop that you're in. There's something inside you that truly does not believe that you can create a different, better life. And so when clients always ask me, you know, I'm in this situation and nothing's going right, I can't seem to make anything work, That is what it is. And we fool ourselves into thinking it's not that, that it's the person we're in partnership with, that it's this, not living here, it's this job, it's all this stuff. But we wouldn't be in any of those situations if we didn't believe that's where we were supposed to be and deserved it. If we felt like we did not deserve it and we were over it, we'd get up and leave all of it and create something different. So that's when you find yourself really in a predicament where you have to love yourself and work on that. Then everything falls into place. You don't put stuff in place first and then learn to love yourself. Doesn't work, because you're going to keep getting the same result. You keep going to end up in the shitty job, the shitty boyfriend, the shitty girlfriend, the shitty place to live, the blah, blah. It's all going to keep happening, because what we get in life is what we truly believe we deserve, okay? And the other part of that is that sometimes we end up in the same cyclical or circular thinking and circular being because we're not healing that part of things, and we're not healing the specific thing that makes us unworthy. So you're really not feeling it, you're really not worthy of it. There's a reason you're feeling that way. You got to heal that, and then get on your own team. Get on Team Georgia, get on Team Michael, get on Team Rain, get on Team Gina. You've got to unpack that. Can I help you do that in a reading? Absolutely. Can I help you do that with spiritual guidance? Absolutely. But you have to understand that is the work. And it's dirty and messy and gritty and not a lot of fun. But boy, is the reward a lot of fun and amazing. So, Jackie had a question. When you turn to Jesus Christ, you will be healed and safe. Absolutely, Jackie. Absolutely. And whatever that energy means for any of you, whether it's Jesus, Blessed Mother, Creator God, angels, Buddha, Kuan Yin, galactic energies, elementals, fairies, whatever that is for you, believe in something that created you and has the ability to co-create with you the life that you want. And that's what co-creation is about. And we can't do that unless we love ourselves enough to realize that the great power within us is the same power that created us. And we can work with him hand in hand to create the life we want. That's co-creation. We're co-creating with our creator. So absolutely 1,000% dead on, Jackie. So I have time for, I think, one more question before I get booted off. Does anybody want to ask the last question? I'll give it all to you guys. Viewer's choice. Viewer's choice, guys. Okay, so then I'm going to ask, the last one on my list was, I get this a lot, are we all one? Yes, we are all one. And then people will say, well, how do you figure that? Like, how can we all be one? We're all separate, we're all unique. Yes, we are. But it's like this. So, have you guys ever made anything? Like, for instance, I don't know, it could have been when you were a Girl Scout and you made cookies or something, or you were a Boy Scout and you made, I don't know, some kind of carpentry thing, or you were in shop class, or maybe you made your mother a birthday card when you were 5. But think back to a time when you made something, right? It could be a drawing, could be a sketch, a painting. Think about the beautiful Van Gogh when he used to paint, right? You look at those paintings and you feel his essence in them. When you handed your mother that homemade card at 5, she cried because she felt your essence in there. When we look at things, even from a beautiful building that was built by an amazing architect to anybody, right? When someone makes something, and you think back to the time when you made something in your life, could be you painted a bedroom, or you made the nursery for your baby, or like I said, you drew a card for your mother when you were 5. Whatever you created had a piece of you in it, right? Well, I think we can all agree that something created, some energy or some being or some God or some creator, whatever you want to call it, created all of us, right? So there's a piece of that essence, that energy in all of us, and that connects us all. So we're all one, and that's creation. So when you create something, that's why it's called creation, creator, creative energy, because we are accessing creator energy. So we're all one because we're all created by the same energy. And Rain's asking, how can we overcome holding other people anxiety and energy? How do you release this more quickly? I think you mean, how do we overcome holding on to energy that we pick up from other people? Well, if you believe in free will, you know that you have the ability to decide if you're taking that energy on or not. So you have to just know that you're worth more than taking that on. And that gets back to the expression I always say, I've been using for the last couple of videos, is not everything put in front of you deserves your attention. So sometimes people will come in the room and you don't need to take on their energy because you don't deserve that. You're not deserving of taking that on. So not everything deserves your attention. We can be compassionate by being an observer of something and not taking it in. And I call that not jumping in the same boat. And I used to be a big offender with that. As soon as somebody had a pain or a situation in their life, I'd be like, oh yeah, me too, that happened to me. Well, no, it doesn't have to happen to you too. You can be in a situation with someone and be compassionate and empathetic without jumping in the boat with them, you know? And that's what we have to learn to do. So Chris says she's struggling with self-love. Yeah, that's a big one for all of us. And I know you're a Libra, Chris, like me. So Libra, in life, we want balance and we want harmony. And the mistake of Librans is we look for it in the other when we need to look for it in ourselves. So I think, Chris, this is what helped me anyway, and I started this years ago and it really made a difference, is take time every day just to be with yourself. Take time every day just to be with Chris. And in that time, don't be contemplative over worry or negative. Like, don't go into your, meditation or your walk or whatever your separate Chris time is. Don't go into that and think about what you're going to do about a problem or a solution to something. Only use that time. I don't care if it's like in the shower taking 10 minutes longer or on the deck before anybody wakes up in the morning and having your coffee. When you're in Chris space, when you're in self space, talk nicely to yourself. Think about something that you're proud of about yourself. Think about an accomplishment that you made in your life that you're not struggling with. So have those little, boost sessions every day that you actually, it's time for you to love yourself. You have a love yourself exercise every day, and that time is spent with yourself, learning to be your own best friend. And that's how we learn self-love. Sometimes it's as simple as that. I know for myself in my own life, I was plunged into a time when I was very, very alone for long stretches. And so I had to learn to be friends with myself. I had to learn to really like myself and spend time with myself and enjoy my own company. And that was the first step to really understanding what self-love was. And I think if we can take 5 or 10 minutes a day even and just do that little self-time and talk nicely to yourself. Don't use it to beat yourself up. Don't use it to seek for something else. Use it to feel good inside of who you are. And you're going to find that then you learn and you retrain yourself to know what that feels like. And that'll really help a lot, I think. All right? Whenever we have trouble with money, David, it's always a reflection on our self-worth. Whatever your income and your financial situation is, it's usually a direct result of what you feel you are worth and you're deserving in your life. So I think that's actually our hour. I have an hour on this broadcast. Does anybody else have anything that they wanted to talk about? I just wanted to go over the astrology really quick next couple of days. We've got the Sun opposing Pluto right now, then it'll oppose Jupiter and Saturn. So for the next little while, I'd say the next week to 10 days, you're going to feel some switches up of energy as it makes those transits. And what I'm going to say to you is whatever occurs, especially when that opposition is in, oh, bless you, Chris, especially when that opposition of the Sun reaches Saturn, don't become too rigid. It's really, really important right now that you're welcome, Jackie, I love you. Really important right now that we remain flexible in our own belief systems and allow ourselves to hear opinions calmly and hear sides and perspectives and then go within and form our own authority about what is. Not taking the authority of other things and other structures as, what we should be thinking, but evaluating, understanding, approaching things, going to different data points, and then allowing what resonates with us. Really, really important in this energy, because there will be some who get very radical in their beliefs and very fixed in their beliefs. and have a rigid system from that. This is about structures, leaders, all coming up to challenge external authority. So you really want to make sure that your own authority is driving you, not the externals that are going around the world. Really, really make sure that you're understanding what your own needs are and what your belief systems are, not the beliefs of others. Okay? Just reading my notes. And don't be so quick to do things that world structures and organizations and structured systems tell you to do. Don't be so quick. Like, just kind of, if you think it's right, do it. I'm not telling anybody what to do, but I'm just saying, kind of evaluate things and really see the whole picture, because this can be a very impulsive energy where people will act out and be very rigid in their thinking and fanatical and regret it. So just know that, okay? You're welcome, Rain, and I hope that your anxiety is relieved. Try those things. Chris, try that other stuff. And I like this, answering viewers' questions. I think it's been really, I've learned from you guys, and I think it's really a great way for us to collaborate on our wisdom. So everybody, take a deep breath, relax, and I will see you probably on Tuesday Night Live, 7:30 here on Facebook. If you thought this video was helpful, please share. And of course, all of my videos are on YouTube, on Zencuda. You can find me on Zencuda.com, because we are a little Zen and a little Barracuda. Thanks so much. Instagram, Zencuda Official, Zencuda on Facebook and YouTube. And of course, you can always go on my website, Zencuda.com, to book a reading or a guidance session. Thank you so much. I'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.